Listen closely. When a real crisis hits, you won't get a warning. No sirens, no broadcasts, no neat little countdown. 1 second you're scrolling, the next. Shelves are empty, fuel's gone, and people are lined up for supplies that vanished hours ago. But here's the catch. It doesn't happen after the news breaks. It has happened before. The real preppers, they already know what goes missing first. Not water, not canned food. Those are rookie grabs. I'm talking about the 9 survival items that disappear before the first alert even hits your screen. The kind of tools that give you leverage when everything else becomes chaos. You won't see them trending. You won't find them last minute, and you sure won't trade for them once collapse starts, because no one lets go of gear that actually keeps them alive. I'm going to walk you through each one, why it vanishes first, how I use it, and what it trades for when fear turns into desperation. But I want to know your take too. Would you pack it or would you pass? Because when the system fails without warning, the ones who already grab these items, they don't wait in line. They don't panic. They lead. Number 1. Cast iron skillet, the last pan you'll ever need. Most people think of a cast iron skillet as just another old-school kitchen item. Heavy, basic, outdated. But when collapse hits, when your gas line's dead, the microwave's useless, and the grid isn't coming back anytime soon, this isn't a pan anymore. It's a weapon-grade survival tool. Here's the truth. Cast iron doesn't care where you cook. Gas flame? Works. Open fire? No problem. Wood stove, hot coals, rocket stove? It performs like it was made for it. That's why every serious prepper keeps one close. It doesn't warp. It doesn't flake. It doesn't quit. It's non-toxic, indestructible, and with just a little care, it only gets better with time. What makes it a collapse essential? It holds heat like nothing else. That means when fuel is limited, and believe me, it will be, you don't need to keep feeding the fire just to keep cooking. A few coals and this pan will finish the job. Whether you're frying, baking, boiling, or reheating, it's consistent, it's efficient, and it's deadly reliable. But there's more. A cast iron pan doesn't just cook, it sears, it purifies. It even defends. Have you ever swung one of these in your hand? You'll understand real quick why no one messes with the guy cooking over fire. I've personally used mine to fry wild-caught fish over a fire pit, bake bannock bread, even render down animal fat for long-term storage. I've dropped it, scraped it, left it in the rain. It still works like day one. And let's talk trade. In a camp where people are trying to cook in aluminum mess kits or dented tin pots, a seasoned cast iron skillet becomes the gold standard. You don't just have a pan, you have control. So ask yourself, are you stacking fancy gadgets that die without power? Or are you carrying the one piece of cookware that never taps out? In collapse, cast iron isn't cookware, it's leverage. Number 2, dustpan. You ever wonder what takes people down after a collapse? It's not always hunger, it's not always violence. Sometimes it's trash, food scraps on the ground, dust building up, insect trails, rats, and then infection, sickness, contamination. That's why something as simple and as ignored as a handheld broom and dustpan becomes an absolute survival essential. Most people don't even think about cleaning gear in their prep. They're too busy stacking ammo and rice. But what happens after day 3 in a sealed shelter with no running vacuum, no mop, and no power? Things get ugly fast. Trash piles up, crumbs attract bugs, dust triggers allergies, coughing, and infections. And guess what? There's no janitor coming. But this combo? Lightweight, manual, no batteries, no noise. You clean as you go, quietly, efficiently, and every single day. In a tight bug-out shelter, under a tarp, in a community camp, hygiene becomes your front line of defense. You don't keep that space clean, people start getting sick, they lose energy, tempers flare, trust breaks. I've used my compact broom set in field drills, camp setups, and even in my own garage during a 3-day blackout. Every time, it proved something simple. A clean space is a controlled space. And control is everything when the outside world is falling apart. And don't underestimate the trade value. When you're in a group and someone's coughing, someone else is stepping over old food wrappers, and you pull out a cleanup kit, that's not just a tool, that's leadership. I keep mine wrapped in a sealed bag, tied tight to my shelter bin. Small handle, durable bristles, curved dustpan that latches to the broom. Nothing fancy, just something that works. Because in collapse, the little things kill. And the guy who keeps it clean, he's the one who stays standing when everyone else gets sick. You stacking guns? Good. Food? Even better. Now stack cleaning discipline. Because once things get messy, so does survival. Number 3. Handheld broom. Let me ask you something simple. What's the one thing every shelter, every camp, every home needs, but no one packs when collapse begins? A broom. Not a full-sized fancy mop. Not a power vacuum that needs a grid. I'm talking about a simple, solid handheld broom because in survival, clean equals control. People underestimate dirt. They forget what happens when trash piles up. Food crumbs, dust, hair, debris. You don't clean it? You invite insects, mice, mold, even disease. And in a world where medicine is scarce and hospitals aren't an option, that's not just gross, that's dangerous. The handheld broom does what no electric cleaner can do when the grid's down. It keeps your space usable, breathable, and safe. Whether you're in a tent, a cabin, or a corner of your garage, this thing keeps your floor clear and your mind sharper. Why handheld? Because it's compact, silent, lightweight. It fits in any gear bin or bug-out bag. I've used mine in 3-day field drills and blackout tests. Every time, it proved its value. You get dust? Sweep it. You get crumbs from ration food? Clean it. Broken glass? Sweep and move on. And when someone drops a spoiled food pouch and no one's got a cleanup plan, you've already got the tool that handles it. This isn't just about being neat. It's about avoiding infection, keeping morale high, showing the group or just yourself that you're not losing control when everything else is. I keep a small broom wrapped in plastic, tied to a compact dustpan, and stashed in my camp kit. Firm bristles, grippy handle, nothing flashy, just functional. Because in the end, the guy who can cook and clean, he's the one people want in their shelter, not the loudmouth with a rifle and a trash pile under his feet. Collapse isn't just fought with force. Sometimes, it's swept away one clean motion at a time. Number 3, manual egg beater. When the grid goes down, you quickly realize how many everyday kitchen tools rely on electricity. Blenders, mixers, grinders, all of it becomes useless. That's where this old-school tool comes in. The manual egg beater, the kind your grandma used, the kind that just works. This thing might look like some forgotten relic, but in a real crisis, it's a low-key beast. No power? No problem. Crank it by hand, and you're instantly mixing powdered milk, pancake batter, eggs, flour, soup bases, whatever you've got in your stash. Now think about this during a collapse. You'll probably be working with basic ingredients, maybe boxed mix, dried goods, ration powder, powdered protein, instant oats. And when you try mixing that with a spoon, it clumps. It's a mess. It doesn't blend. That's not just annoying, it's inefficient. And when food is scarce, wasting even a little bit is a big deal. The manual egg beater solves that. Quiet, clean, no fuel needed. You turn the crank, and it does the rest. Whether you're rehydrating powdered food, prepping baby formula, or just whipping up something edible with what you've got, it works every single time. And here's what makes it golden. It's durable. You get a stainless steel one, and it'll outlast most gear in your kitchen. No motor to fail, no wires to melt. Just a hand crank and metal blades. It's also compact. Easy to store, easy to clean. Doesn't take up space in your bag or kitchen box, and you don't need an entire backup system to run it. Just your hand. Most people overlook this because it's not flashy. It doesn't look like survival gear. But collapse isn't about looking tactical, it's about what gets the job done when everything else quits. And this tool? It delivers. So yeah, it's an egg beater. Big deal, right? But when your only food source needs to be mixed, blended, or whipped just to be digestible, this little hand-cranked device becomes one of the smartest things in your prep stash. Because survival isn't always about fire, knives, and tents. Sometimes, it's about making a meal work when nothing else does. Number 5, manual whisk. Have you ever tried making food from dry rations with no power, no fancy kitchen tools, and barely enough daylight to get through your tasks? That's when you realize just how valuable a manual whisk or hand crank egg beater really is. This isn't some baking accessory for pancakes and cupcakes. This is a no-electric, all-function mixing tool that turns dry goods into edible fuel when everything else fails. Picture this. You've got powdered milk, dry batter, ration pancake mix, maybe some dehydrated potatoes. You don't have time to mess around with forks, spoons, or hoping it'll just mix itself. You need it fast. You need it uniform. You need it done without wasting energy or making a mess. That's where a simple manual whisk earns its place in your kit. I've used one to blend everything from oats and protein powder to powdered eggs and ration dough. It saves time. It saves effort. And when you're prepping under pressure, maybe even under low light or bad weather, that saved effort becomes critical. And here's the thing most people miss. This isn't just about making food. It's about morale. When the system collapses and people are eating cold beans out of a can, the guy who can whip up real food smooth, warm, even a little tasty suddenly, becomes the guy everyone wants to follow. I've seen a camp shift their entire mood because one person had the tools to prep batter and fry it into something real. That's the impact this tool has. It doesn't need batteries. It doesn't break. It doesn't take up space. It just works. And when someone in your group is sick, dehydrated, or can't keep solids down, you'll need to mix clean, smooth, reliable liquid calories. That's not something you leave to chance, that's something you prep for. I carry a hand crank beater with a fold-flat handle and reinforced gears. It weighs almost nothing, but it's earned its spot in every camp setup I run. Because when survival means speed, silence, and consistency, the guy with the whisk isn't just mixing food. He's feeding control into every move he makes. Number 6. French press. In a world where comfort dies first, there's one tool that can shift everything back in your favor: French press. And no, this isn't about sipping lattes while the world burns. This is about keeping your edge sharp when collapse dulls everything around you. When you're living off-grid, bugged out, or just trying to stay alive during a blackout, routines start to slip. Hygiene suffers, morale dips, sleep becomes a mess. But if you've prepped right, if you've packed smart, you pull out a French press and suddenly, you have more than just a hot drink. You have a reason to stop, reset, and refocus. A simple French press turns boiled water and ground beans into real, functional energy. No power, no noise, no drama. Just grit, grind, and heat. And it's not just for coffee. I've used mine to brew herbal teas, bone broth, and even to strain powdered drinks that clump and clog. It's a clean, press-based system that works without filters or electricity. And in a camp setting, it becomes an instant morale booster. When everyone's tired, cold, and second-guessing their prep, you serve them hot coffee in silence. No one forgets that. The glass ones break, the cheap plastic ones melt. But the real one's double-walled steel with mesh press and insulated lid, those last forever. Mine's been dropped, dented, heated over coals, and still works like day one. I keep it with my cook kit, next to the kettle, because I know how valuable one clean, strong drink can be when everything else is noise. And when barter kicks in, a cup of hot caffeine becomes a trade item that moves gear, food, even favors. I've traded one French-pressed brew for a full ration of freeze-dried meat. That's the kind of leverage this simple tool holds. You can call it luxury. I call it tactical. Because the guy who can stay calm, focused, and alert while others are spiraling, he wins. And sometimes, that edge doesn't come from a weapon. It comes from the press, the heat, the calm, the grind, and the ability to extract strength, one cup at a time. Number 8. Gravity water filter. In any collapse, the first real threat isn't fire, bullets, or food shortages, it's water. Not the lack of it, but the filth in it. Contaminated sources. Standing rainwater. Bacteria-filled streams. And when the taps stop flowing, people panic. They boil what they can. They risk what they shouldn't. But the ones who planned ahead, they pull out a gravity water filter and they survive. A gravity filter doesn't need pumps, power, or pressure. Just fill the top and let gravity do the rest. It turns muddy runoff into clean, drinkable, life-saving hydration. And when fuel is tight, firewood is soaked, and boiling isn't practical, this tool becomes mission critical. You can't outrun dehydration. You can't ignore dirty water. And in a real collapse, you won't get clean bottled water every day. What you get is what you can source and what you can clean. That's why my setup includes a stainless steel gravity filter system with replaceable ceramic and carbon elements. I've used it at camps, during storms, and even while testing urban runoff. The results? Safe water every time. No moving parts, no noise, no breakdown. It's also group-friendly. When you're not alone, when you're moving with family, a crew, or a camp, you can't rely on pocket filters or one-at-a-time straws. You need bulk water processing. Quiet, efficient, reliable, and that's what gravity gives you. One fill, one weight, one result, survival. And here's what most forget: filtered water is barter gold. When everyone's sick from bad sources and you've got a system turning sludge into safety, that's not just self-reliance, that's leadership. I keep mine packed with extra filters, clean containers, and a tarp for rain catchment. It's not flashy, it's not viral, but it works every time. And when the grid fails and people start collapsing from the inside out, the guy with clean water isn't thirsty. He's in control. Water doesn't wait. Neither should you. Stack the tool that stacks survival loan drop at a time. Number 9. Manual food grater. It might not look like much. It doesn't shine. It doesn't beep. And it won't ever go viral in a bug-out gear haul. But in a real-world collapse, A stainless steel manual food grater quietly becomes one of the smartest tools in your entire kit. It doesn't need power, it doesn't break easily, and it does more for your food prepan survival efficiency than most people realize. When you're cooking under pressure, rationing fuel, and trying to stretch every scrap of dry food, grinding and breaking down ingredients becomes essential. A food grater lets you shave down hard cheese, slice dried vegetables, shred soap for sanitation, or break up dense roots for boiling. That means faster cook times, more usable portions, and better preservation of what little resources you've got. You're not prepping gourmet meals in a collapse. You're maximizing every calorie and minimizing waste. A grater takes ingredients that would normally need long boiling or pounding and turns them into something usable in seconds. And when time, energy, and fuel are all on the line, that advantage matters. I've used mine to grate hardened ration blocks into soup bases, to shred dried apples into makeshift trail mix, and to process dry soap bars for multi-person hygiene kits. It's not glamorous, but it's clean, fast, and gets the job done every single time. There's also trade value in that versatility. When someone in your camp can't chew hard food, or your group needs to prepare quick meals, and you pull out a tool that makes that possible, you're not just surviving, you're enabling others to survive too. I keep mine flat, stainless steel, with coarse and fine sides, wrapped in cloth to protect the edges, lightweight, durable, silent. Because in a world where speed, silence, and simplicity win, this small tool doesn't just shred food, it shreds the gap between just getting by and staying 2 steps ahead. So now you know, it's not flashy gear, it's not a viral tool, it's the quiet, overlooked, everyday items that become gold when the system crashes. A food grater, a rolling pin, a solar lantern. These aren't luxury, they're leverage. They're the difference between waiting for rescue and never needing it in the first place. Because here's the truth, when a crisis hits, it doesn't come with a warning. There's no alert before the shelves go empty, no countdown before the water turns brown, no second chance when the power shuts off and the chaos kicks in. The only advantage you'll have is what you did before the news broke. You don't want to be the one begging for supplies, chasing rumors, trading your last comfort for something you should have already had. You want to be the one holding the line. Calm, prepared, respected. And that's what this channel is about. Real prep, real gear. No fluff, no clickbait, just raw, tested survival intel delivered straight to the ones who are actually paying attention. So, if you've made it this far, one thing's clear, you're not just curious. You're ready to take this seriously. And if that's the case, you know what to do next. Hit that subscribe button right now. Not for me, not for numbers. For your future self, the version of you that's standing in the dark while others panic, calmly pulling out exactly what they all forgot. Because the moment the lights go out, you won't rise to the level of your goals. You'll fall to the level of your preparation. So prep smart, stay sharp, and never depend on luck. This isn't entertainment. This is survival. And you just got one step ahead.